And it will be in French, eh? It will be in French.
I'll be in front.
So it will be in French language.
Oh, yeah. I really look forward to this evening. How many of you, this is the first time you've attended? We got 1, 2, 3, Yoshi. Okay, great. That's a little less than, usually we get about a third of the people are new. But what I've seen today, you know, I saw a lot of you meeting, you know, a lot of other people, and that's, let me just tell you a little bit about Laguna Friends of Architecture. You know, a lot of it is about the architecture, but a lot of it is you. This is the only thing we ask of you, is to have a glass of wine and meet other people. Okay, that's, you know, around a common passion. So it's not that hard. Okay, you know, just meet and greet, right? You know, so because again, a lot of people, you know, are looking for people that have like passions. This is the third or fourth community I've built before. And that's really the crux of this thing. Again, it's not this, so we'll keep you coming back. It's socializing and meeting other like people, and again, relationships coming out of that. This is the most, I think, one of the best groups in Laguna Beach. We have about 1,400 people signed up. Either we have like 900 emails, and they're on Facebook and Meetup, and we typically get anywhere from, you know, like today, 50 to sometimes 250 people, depending on the venue that we have. And you know, we really are, you know, we try to keep it as simple as possible. No money, no politics, and all we are really is, you know, there's some of the people here are event planners. You know, so we just facilitate this for you, and it seems to work. So I'm glad you guys enjoy it, and look forward to seeing you coming back again. So one of the first things, I want to introduce Tom here, and Tom is going to tell you about some of our future events coming up, as well as introduce our Jacqueline.
I just want to tell you about our upcoming events. We have two that we have dates for right now. The next one coming up is on St. Patrick's Day on Thursday, March 17th. And it'll be on early California architect Wallace Neff. If you don't recognize the name, sounds like you do recognize him. This is a real opportunity to see his designs in more detail. And Robert Hansen is working on that.
Why don't you tell a little bit more about Robert Hansen, what he did with his son? You know, they put the watercolors together that now are in the Huntington Museum permanent.
Yes,
Collection.
and he has a portfolio of photographs of his work and artwork that will be on display at this gallery. It'll be at the Forest and Ocean Gallery, and that'll be, again, March 17th. So this is really a great opportunity to see something very unique.
And Ted Wells is doing the...
Ted Wells will do a talk on the history of the architect.
How many of you have heard Ted now? He's talked at quite a bit of our events. He's really, really good.
And following that, March 30th on a Wednesday, again here at LCAD, we'll have a presentation by Daniel Paul, who's an expert on commercial architecture in Orange County. And he knows everything about all the mirror glass buildings that we kind of take for granted. We see them every day, but he can kind of show us a new appreciation for these buildings. And his talk will include the Crystal Cathedral and the new designs that are coming up for that. So that'll be really interesting. So just want to introduce our speaker. We're very honored to have Jacqueline Hahn, who is a professor of linguistics and literature in Paris. Before she married an American doctor and moved to Irvine. There she joined the MA PhD arts program at UCI, so she taught there for quite a few years. She moved to Emerald Bay and with her family while teaching at UCI. She now lectures at the Bowers Museum and the Newport Beach Library and at her own art salon. So there's a flyer here if you're interested in more of her talks. She lectures on the history of painting, sculpture, and architecture. So, Jacqueline.
Okay. So, I'm going to start Le Corbusier. And first, I will do a little presentation on his itinerary in life, his career, his education, etc. And then after, I'm going to show you about 75 images of his buildings, and also he did collages and he did some sculptures. And I was interested in him because 2 years ago there was a fantastic exhibit on him in the Pompidou Museum in Paris. So, and the presentation was incredible. So he is in fashion now. But what I want you to focus on is I want you to think that when he started, all his ideas were very new. You know, right now, when we already saw his ideas reproduced in many ways, but when he started, he was a total pioneer. Okay, and that's what I want you to focus on. Okay, so, next. No, I don't do this, but okay. So here he is, Le Corbusier. His name is Charles-Édouard Jeanneret-Gris, who was better known as Le Corbusier. And he was a Swiss French architect, designer, painter, urban planner, and writer. And one of the pioneers of what is now called modern architecture. So it's amazing because it seems like it's old for us, but at that moment he was really a pioneer. He was born in Switzerland. He became a French citizen in 1930, and his career spanned 5 decades with his building constructed throughout Europe, India, and America. So this is him with his glasses, Charles-Édouard Jeanneret, and he became Le Courbusier from, it's an altered form of his maternal grandmother's name, Le Courbusier. So he changed it to Le Corbusier.
Change it to one name like Madonna?
Le Corbusier. Okay, so next please. So we're going to see some of his photos. So here he is with his maquette, his glasses, and he was dedicated to providing better living conditions to the residents of crowded cities. That's why he went to India. Le Corbusier was influential in urban planning and was a founding member of the Congrès International d'Architecture Moderne, CIM. He prepared the master plan for the planned city of Chandigarh in India and contributed specific design for several buildings there. So it's kind of interesting to see that some of the architects, they really were concerned about the trying to find the cheapest way of building things for a big amount of people. And Frank Gehry, to a certain degree, was also concerned about it, more now at his old age. So we see a lot of architects that kind of worried about the well-being, the dwellings of their human fellows of that time. So here he is. He took a lot of trips, of course, European trips, and to escape the provincial atmosphere of his hometown, he traveled around Europe. And in 1907, he made his first trip outside of Switzerland, going to Italy, of course, Italy. Then that winter, traveling through Budapest, Vienna, where he would stay for 4 months and meet Gustav Klimt, you know Gustav Klimt, and Joseph Hoffmann. I have a lecture on Gustav Klimt, and I have another one on Joseph Hoffmann too, so those 2 people are very important. So around 1908, he traveled to Paris, where he found work in the office of Auguste Perret, the French pioneer of reinforced concrete. Okay, so it was both his trip to Italy and his employment at Perret's office that began to form his own ideas about architecture. First the idea, the design, and then the material. Between October 1910 and March 1911, he worked near Berlin for the renowned architect Peter Behrens, where he may have met Ludwig Mies van der Rohe and Walter Gropius. I have 2 presentations on these people too. He became fluent in German, and more than anything during this period, it was his visit to the charter house of the Valley of Ema that influenced his architectural philosophy profoundly the rest of his life. He believed that all people should have the opportunity to live as beautifully and peacefully as the monks he witnessed in the sanctuaries of the Charterhouse. I was in Mexico City two weeks ago, and I did Barragan. All the Barragan architectural tour in Mexico City is amazing for architecture. I really recommend you to go there and take a tour. And Barragan built his home almost like churches because he wants peace, quiet, certain spirituality involved in the walls, in the building. So there is an influence between the holy places and the home that should be also a holy place. Well, anyhow, later in 1911, he journeyed to the Balkans. He visited Serbia, Bulgaria, Turkey, and Greece, filling nearly 80 sketchbooks with renderings of what he saw. Traveling for all the artists are extremely important. It's the best school of life. Including many sketches of the Parthenon. Of course, everything starts with the Greek, the Parthenon, and whose forms he would later praise in his work, Vers une architecture. He was a writer, so he wrote a book that's called Vers une architecture, Towards an Architecture. And a fresh translation of Towards an Architecture was published in 2007 by the Getty Research Institute. So he is a very substantial architect and pioneer. Here he is. Oh, next. So I have to say next. Okay, so his glasses. So you see his pictures with Einstein. He was a brain with monks. Again, the connection between the building, the spirituality, and the architecture. Certain lyricism, but spiritual lyricism. Okay, so here, early career. So he did villas, he built villas between 1914 and 1920. And during the World War, the First World War, he taught at his old school in La Chaux-de-Fonds, not returning to Paris until the war was over. During these 4 years in Switzerland, he worked on theoretical architecture studies using modern techniques. And among these was his project for the Dame Inno house. We're going to see that house afterwards. This model proposed an open floor plan consisting of concrete slabs supported by a minimal number of thin reinforced concrete columns around the edges, with a stairway providing access to each level on one side of the floor plan. So this design became the foundation for most of his architecture over the next 10 years. Soon he began his own architectural practice with his cousin. His cousin is very important because they formed a firm together. Pierre Jeanneret, and they were partners, and this partnership would last until the 1950s, with an interruption, of course, because of the war. And because of Le Courbusier ambivalent position towards the Vichy regime. Sometimes some of these artists have been drawn into situations that they really didn't want to, but they were drawn into the Vichy regime. Okay, so you know about the Vichy regime. So in 1918, Le Corbusier met the Cubist. Now, a very important influence of Cubism, because you're going to see his collages and his sculptures and his painting, they're totally Cubist. So he met the painter Amédée Ozefon, in whom he recognized a kindred spirit. Ozefon encouraged him to paint, and the two began a period of collaboration. So he was not just an architect. You know him as an architect. He was an amazing painter and writer. Ozefon encouraged him to paint, and the two began to collaborate. Rejecting Cubism as irrational and romantic, the pair jointly published their manifesto Après le Cubisme. They were influenced by Cubism, but they rejected also at the same time. So they wrote this manifesto, which is called After Cubism. And they established a new artistic movement, Purism. Ozenfrod and Le Corbusier established the Purist journal, L'Esprit Nouveau, and he was good friends with the Cubist artist Fernand Léger. You heard about Fernand Léger. You go in some of his Cubist paintings are really like Fernand Léger. Here it is all about vision. I put his glasses there. It's all about vision and geometry. The purist approach. But you will see that he's not going to stick to one style. You know, I'm going to explain his style, his 5 rules for his style. But actually, there is a huge evolution. And you're going to see his buildings becoming more and more and more modern. Okay, so between 1918 and 1922, Le Corbusier did not build anything, concentrating his efforts on purist theory and painting. In 1922, he and his cousin Pierre Jeanneret opened a studio in Paris, Rue de Sèvres, and his theatrical studies soon advanced into several different family house models. Among these was the Maison Citroën, a pen on the name of the French Citroën automaker. For the modern industrial methods and materials the Corbusier advocated using for the house. So, you know, the French and French-speaking and Swiss, they love pen, they love plays on words. So instead of Citroën, he put Citroën with an H. Here, Le Corbusier proposed a 3-floor structure with a double height living room, bedrooms on the 2nd floor, a kitchen on the 3rd floor, and the roof would be occupied by a sun terrace. His sun terraces were amazing because the garden is not downstairs, it's upstairs. So I don't know what you think about this, but I'm going to show you some of his design with the roof becoming very open to the sky and becoming a garden. So he also designed the facades to include large uninterrupted banks of windows. So everything in the modern architecture is really about light. If you compare Palladio's villas with his architecture or modern architecture, you see that it's all a question of the windows, the space, the open to the light, the openness to the light. It's very important for painting and very important for architecture. So the house used a rectangle plan with exteriors walls that were not filled by windows but left as white stuccoed spaces. Le Courbusier and Jeanneret left the interior aesthetically spare with any movable furniture made of tubular metal frames. These two guys, not only they did buildings, but they also did paintings, collages, and they also did furniture. Somehow, like Frank Lloyd Wright, he also did furniture. So these people have amazing designing mind that can go into many directions. It's based on a very fertile imagination. So the house used, he made furniture and he made also the light fixtures using compressed single and bare bulbs. Interior walls also left white. Between 1922 and 1927, Le Courbusier and Pierre Jeanneret designed many of these private houses for clients around Paris, in Boulogne-sur-Seine and the 16th arrondissement in Paris. Le Courbusier and Jeanneret designed and built the Villa Lipschitz, Maison Cook, Maison Plenix, Maison La Roche, Albert Jeanneret, which houses now the foundation Le Courbusier. So his personal life, okay, we like that, right? Near Hollywood, we have to have some little details about his life. So while returning in 1929 from South America to Europe, Le Courbusier met entertainer and actress Josephine Baker on board of the ocean liner Lutetia. So Le Courbusier made several nude sketches of Baker. So soon after his return to France, Le Corbusier married Yvonne Galli, a dressmaker and fashion model. She died in 1957. So Le Corbusier also had a long extramarital affair with Swedish-American heiress Margaret Cheder Harris. Le Corbusier became a French citizen in 1930. Here he is with his wife, Yvonne Galis. Okay, so lots of these artists, Picasso, writers, painters, they have a very exciting sex life. Okay, so now we go now to the 5 points of architecture. Okay, so there's 5 points. Those 5 points are shown in his work of art, his major first building, Villa Savoie. Villa Savoie, that we're going to check after this presentation. So the 5 points are really express Esprit Nouveau, the new spirit, modernism in architecture. And also, they are written in his book Vers une architecture. So he lifted the bulk of the structure of the ground, supporting it by pilotis. So pilotis reinforced with concrete stilts. These pilotis, in providing the structure support for the house, allowed him to elucidate his next 2 points. A free facade. Facade is the front, meaning non-supporting walls that could be designed as the architect wished. And an open floor, that because he did pilotis and he had the stability all ensured, that he could do fancy things. You understand what I mean? If you do the walls as supporting element, you cannot play with them as well as when the structure is already established. So that is very important feature of his creativity, his creation. So the second floor of the Villa Savoie includes long strips of ribbon windows that allow unencumbered views of the large surrounding garden. So again, like in the Japanese architecture, you have a total openness to nature, in and out, almost mixed up. And so that's the view, the windows constitute the 4th point of his system. The 5th point was the roof garden that I talked about, to compensate for the green area consumed by the building and replacing it on the roof. A ramp rising from ground level to the 3rd floor roof terrace allows for an architectural promenade through the structure. And the white tubular railing recalls the industrial ocean liner aesthetic that Le Corbusier much admired. As if to put an exclamation mark after Le Corbusier homage to modern industry, the driveway around the ground floor, which is semicircular path, measured the exact turning radius of a 1927 Citroën automobile. It's all connected. It's all connected. Next. Okay, next. Le Courbusier, here he is again, very elegant, like a Swiss French, you know, with his maquette of Villa Savoie. And this one is 1935, and it is at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Okay, next, please. Okay, where's my next?
Come on, yeah.
Okay, so now let's review the 5 points, because everything is based on them. So, pilotis. What's the pronunciation in English of pilotis? Pilotis. So pilotis, the replacement of supporting walls by a grid of reinforced concrete columns that bears the load of the structure, is the basis of his new aesthetic. It was not done before, remember. We all invented this. The free designing of the ground floor, the absence of supporting walls means that the house is unrestrained in its eternal usage. It means everything is going to be open and nice. Less walls, more space. Okay, but still private, because the way you put the space, you can have privacy without having a wall. You turn it around. So the free design of facade, By separating the exterior of the building from the structure function, the facade becomes free. The horizontal window, the facade can be cut along its entire length, religious building, and is under the guardianship of the private foundation, l'Association de l'œuvre de Notre-Dame-du-Haut. It attracts 80,000 visitors each year. Okay, inside. You see the inside? Yeah. It's like a peasant house. You know, the other one, it looks like it's heavy. It's heavy. And the inside here. But it's interesting. You don't have, look at this, what he did here. Oh, I have my pointer. Do you have your pointer? Yeah, I have my pointer. I want to point to something that he did here. Look at this. These little things here. You see? Yeah. It's completely different from a Gothic church. Yeah. So it's totally modern. I saw one similar to the in Norway. It looks like that in the countryside. Okay, so now, but at that time it was very new, very new. Okay, so the chapelle de Notre-Dame-du-Haut. Here it is. Next is Maison Jaoul. It's a pair of houses of the upmarket Paris suburb of Neuilly-sur-Seine. Neuilly-sur-Seine is a very expensive place in Paris. It's one of the most important houses he built, buildings he built post-war. Béton brut and roughly detailed brickwork. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so you see that he doesn't have just one style, but he has multiple ones. Okay, here, Maison Jaoul, inside. Is interesting inside, isn't it? Compared to the exterior. The exteriors that not reflect really the interior. Here, look at this. Maison Jaoul. And now, we're going to travel with Le Corbusier. He went to Moscow, he built in Paris, he built in Switzerland, and then now he's going to India. Okay, so what is he going to do in India? India is a lot of people. You've got to build a lot of places inexpensively, you know what I mean? Because of this. So he built this. Chandigarh. It's, you know, he has a lot of new modern features here. So this one was a high court. So it had to be pure, elegant, symmetrical. It has to convey a certain dignity and the power of justice. He did bright colors. And it is imposing. It's very, very imposing. Now this Secretariat building, again, it's his style for the big buildings. It's 1951, 1958, and the Palace of Assembly. This one is amazing. And I saw a video of this, and I saw an Indian crying in front of it because he was so moved. I don't know, I think it's the water. It's feng shui. You have to have water to make it extraordinary. Look, Frank Gehry, he built everything around water. Frank Gehry in Bilbao, not the Walt Disney Hall, but he built the new Vieux-Temps in Bois de Boulogne is surrounded by water, and they put water. It makes something about water. What? Light, reflection.
Relaxing.
What?
Relaxing.
Relaxing. I saw a man cry when he saw this. Yeah, there is something about this building. Okay, so we go on here. Next, please. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. So here, Sainte Marie de la Tourelle. This is also a Dominican order priory on the hillside near Lyon.